Welcome to the Hard Rocket Sports Studios and another edition of the weekly video recap. The March 31st show kicked off.
Get ready! Get ready! Get ready!
Hemp Wizard products are proudly used by former New England Patriots linebacker Brandon Spikes, Suicide Silence guitarist Mark Haleman, Canadian actor Jackson Rowe, Mr. Grimm and Noctis the drummers of Walking Corpse Syndrome, guitarist and vocalist Bub Easton and bassist Ted Wilson of Black Sasquatch, guitarist and vocalist Adam Hines of Fester, Aaron Witzel guitarist of Cropsy Maniac, Roy Boy host of the Licking County Metalheads podcast, Crash Fist Fight and Maxine Maxwell host of the Musicians Hangout podcast, Jeff Towalinsky host of the Hard Rockin' Sports Show. You too can give your beard the magic touch and treat your skin to the finest. Visit hempwizard.net today and use code 20OFF to save 20% off of
Oh, I'm sorry. Wow. Well, that's my cue to start the show. Welcome to another live edition of the Hard Rocket Sports Show, live from high atop Hard Rocket Sports Studios in beautiful scenic Monroe, New Jersey. We are your 2, maybe 3, sometimes 2, our weekly get-together. We bring you all the biggest news from around the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, and, of course, the wide world of sports. And guys, welcome to Thursday night, April the 4th, in the year of our good Lord, 2024. Okay, guys, it's been a great week. Sports everywhere. You got Final Four, you got NIT, you got Women's Final Four, you got pre-playoff hockey, you got basketball, baseball's kicked in, and we got UFL. There ain't enough time in the day to spend talking about sports if you really want to get into it. Right now I'm watching the movie Miracle, one of the best sports movies of all time. Anyway, we got a lot to get to. I hope you guys have had a great week. It's been a good one for me. I'm just getting old and tired. That's all it is. But it was a good week. It's flying by, and I'm looking forward to tonight. We got a lot to talk about. Let's see. I'll run it down for you. What's on my list? We'll talk a little bit about the Mets. They finally get off the schneid. Big home run by Pete Alonso tonight. Keeps the Mets from going 0-6. That's right. And I have to tell you, I thought when he hit it, it was a pop up. The ball carried out of there. And that's a strong dude. Having said that, the Mets are in big trouble. So they caught a break. They're 1-5, which is better than 0-6. But we'll talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the pussification of baseball. That's right, the pussification of baseball. I'm going to talk to you about Jeff McNeil's what's the best way to say it? Jeff McNeil getting upset over a little bit of a late slide, but well within the rules last weekend. And that's probably the problem with baseball and sports in general. We'll get to that. We'll talk about WWF biographies and the Sarge. Sarge's thought is making the rounds. I heard he was on FAN today. I haven't heard the interview yet. I will check it out. So we'll talk a little bit of WWF, the UFL. We'll talk a little about the UFL. The Yankees sweep the Astros. Mets swept by the Brewers. We'll talk about the Yankees 6-1 start, the Mets 1-5 start. We got big news regarding concerts. That's right, Def Leppard's on the road, and it's not a festival, folks. There's probably a festival atmosphere with there's probably 15 bands. It's pathetic what music is today, especially rock music, but we'll talk a little about that. We'll talk, like I said, women's college basketball. We'll talk about the Jets off season. I went from the Jets didn't do anything to all I hear is people talk about how great an off season the Jets have had. Well, we'll talk about it. Let's see if Jeff agrees. The Ohtani news has slipped off the air. Tyson and Paul we'll get to. We'll talk about an old school start to a hockey game last night with the Rangers and the Devils and all of that and whatever else comes up when we get this show started. So there's only one way to get the Hard Rocket Sports Show kicked off. That's by bringing on my partner in crime, the sexiest man on his side of the screen. And we'll talk about the Giants draft to the quarterback with my good buddy, Mr. Jeff. Jets still suck, Talwinski.
My models show that the Giants are going to go after Bo Nix.
They might. Second round, sure. I can see it.
No. 6th pick. 6th pick.
For all of you who did not know, Jeff decided to fix some electric on outside of his house, stepped in a puddle, and electrocuted himself this week.
Well,
So
listen,
that's why he's speaking gibberish right now.
do you have any evidence to dispute that? Yes or no?
Just that statement alone tells me you electrocuted your brain this week. Anyway, we'll get to the Jets. We'll get to the Giants. I want to talk about. I have a perfect plan for the New York Giants, and I'll let you in on that in a little bit.
So in other words, you don't have anything to dispute that.
I just said my dispute is you stepped in a puddle trying to fix electric, and you shed.
So in other words, you have no dispute. That's all there is to it.
I do have a dispute, and we will get to it. Jet fans, Frankie Cat, that's my man.
And you know what else too? I got.
What do you got?
I'm glad that our good friend Frank Catalano came aboard.
Why is that?
Why?
Yeah.
I gotta get it. I want to get it. Yeah. So I have it.
So do I. I want to talk about Frankie Cat because big hockey game by the Rangers last night. And
This right here I have where Frank Catalano says it started long ago. The pain my father made me a Met fan.
I saw this.
That I was smart enough to stay a Jets fan. I told you he was an undercover Jets fan, and I'm sticking with it.
I think I'm sure Frankie will dispute this. If he's smart, he will, because nobody's thankful to be a Jet fan. But listen, we got a long show. We got a lot to get to.
Being a Giant or Broncos fan, I'll tell you.
We're happy to talk a little Mets, who have been very disappointing. A big win, Frankie, by the Mets. Great game by the Rangers last night, and a great old school start to the game, which I will play the video on. We got a lot to get to. Let's get it kicked off. But Jeff, only one way to kick off a Hard Rocket Sports Show, and that is by asking you the magic question. Jeff, how was your week?
It sucked as usual. Every week sucks, Tom. Every single week of every single day of every single week of every single month sucks until I retire.
I listen. I can understand that completely. I do. I get it. I get it. It is what it is. But you got a few more years. Let's not listen. You know what? Let's take it time, because that just means time has flown by. Hopefully you can retire early. Maybe somebody will come into office one of these days and say, Jeff, here's your money. Get out.
Well, I'm going to retire early.
Oh.
That's a definite, man. A little bit more than 2 years.
Well, good for you. So the clock is further ticked down. It's not 5 years. We're looking at a 3-year clock at this point.
For who?
For you.
Me? No. I'm looking at a 2-year clock.
Oh, okay. So even better. Listen,
2-year clock.
I wish I had a 2-year clock. My clock is probably 5 years at this point, at a minimum. And that's just not doing hopefully not doing what I do right now for a living. We'll see. But listen, for now, we won't retire from doing the Hard Rocket Sports Show tonight. We got plenty to talk about.
What do you do? Like when you do the massages, do you take half the money and put it aside or something?
All that cash goes in the thing. Yeah.
And what do you charge for a man-on-man massage?
Well, it depends if the man looks like you or if he looks like Frankie Catalano. It depends on who it is.
Or do you like when they wear leather thongs?
Well, this is going to a really bad spot.
You do. You get all red in the face. Look at you.
Anyway, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Let's get to some stuff. You brought up the Giants and Bo Nix. Let's go for it. You want to give me your mock draft, as you call it?
I read so many different things, right?
Yep.
And everything they got the Giants. And first of all, I'm going to say I am not happy with the way that the mock drafts are showing the Jets' first pick. By the way, just so we get that out of the way.
Well, we'll get to it. Sure, go ahead, keep going. Go with your
Giants. This is what I don't understand. Okay, earlier today, I read someplace where they said at least 2 of the top 6 quarterbacks going to be total busts in the NFL. That's due to the percentages and the way that things are.
Uh-huh.
So I could see that.
Okay.
And the way that there's always a huge rush on quarterbacks, whoever's picking, say, past 4,
Right.
and unless they're looking for a quarterback as a project, which I hate using that term, you know that. We've discussed that.
Yep.
Okay, why would you want to even waste a pick on a project quarterback? Don't you have anything else to do? You're going to tell me that your team is that stacked that you could take a project quarterback? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Maybe Kansas City gets a project quarterback. Okay, not a team like the Giants or Jets. I just don't see it.
Mhm.
But I just don't understand it. If you're going to invest into a quarterback, you already have a quarterback who's kind of iffy and who is has an injury history.
Mhm.
Why would you want to take a quarterback that is iffy at best to make the league and make an impact in the league? No?
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I get people do. Now, wait. Now, having said that, I wouldn't do it in the first round. If you told me that I could have that kind of quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round, well, maybe that I would.
Well, let me ask you something. Don't you think maybe you should pay first round, right? Let's say here you are in the first round. Doesn't matter what team you are. You know, you have a mediocre team at best.
Obviously, yep.
You need some speed pieces. So maybe first round, maybe you're looking for what? A wide receiver, a left tackle, a quarterback, a cornerback. There's certain positions that you just would not look at in the first round, correct?
I would agree.
Okay. So let's say that you find a first left tackle in the first round.
Mhm.
Now comes the second round. Okay. So now evidently the level of player is dropped a little bit.
Sure.
But depending on what you're looking for, you're still within certain parameters. So maybe you're going to look at a guard or a center, or maybe another cornerback.
Mhm.
Okay. As the rounds go on and go deeper into the draft, why would you want to waste, if you're a team that needs a lot of help, why would you want to waste a pick on a possible developmental quarterback at that point in time in the 3rd or 4th round, where maybe you could still get yourself a viable offensive lineman, maybe a safety, maybe a defensive lineman or something of that nature? Wouldn't you rather go that route and take the safer pick than to say, I'm going to try to develop this guy to be what? You know he's never going to start. Why take him?
Well, again, I think it all comes down to strategy. You know, like, see, a lot of teams will do best player available. So let's say you're picking the 10th pick in the draft, like your Jets have, right? You get to that point, and the best pick in the draft is there. And let's say it's a wide receiver, but you're the Jets, right? And you don't need a wide receiver, right? You need a corner, but the best corner available, well, he's not rated that high. So this is the spot. Do you take the best player available, even though it's not a need for your team, or do you reach down and take a guy who maybe shouldn't be picked until the 20th pick, and you take him at 10, because that's your need? You know, do you trade down? Do you trade? You know, these are the dilemmas of the draft. So, you know, so again, when you get into the 3rd and 4th round, and I get to a spot and there's a guy there, and I say, well, I really need another, let's say I need a guard, but the next best guard, I have him rated for a 5th round pick. Do I take the guard, or do I take the quarterback who's higher rated that's developmental? That's the question the GM has to answer.
And I understand that question, and I understand what you're saying. But here's the thing. You need a guard.
Right.
Okay? Why are you going to take a developmental quarterback that may never step foot on the field, may never even stick with your team, okay? And may be a backup at best, maybe even a third string. You don't know.
Yep.
Okay, but you're pretty sure that he's never going to start. So if you know that your guy is there, okay, and you're like, well, I know he may be a reach, but I'm going to take him because we really like him. And then you said something that bothered me.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to tell you what it is. And you may agree with me, but you may not. You're saying, well, you know, by the time it's the 10th pick, I got the 10th pick in the draft, and I'm going to take best player available.
Right.
If you're in the draft and you've got the 10th pick and you're taking best player available at number 10, That to me seems to be a very shallow draft.
I would agree. I would agree with you.
Matter of fact, maybe in one that I would say I'm trading the 10th pick. I'm trading down. If I could trade out of the first round and stack up for next year, I think I would do it.
100%. Again, that's the dilemma. So it's happened to the Giants in the last bunch of years. You know, they were at 10 or 11, and they wanted the kid Floyd went to the Chicago Bears. They jumped up ahead of the Giants. They took him. The Giants stuck there. They got Eli Apple instead. The Giants wanted Leonard Floyd. That's who they wanted. But the Bears jumped up, traded with, I think, the Cowboys or somebody. And actually, the Giants are standing there. They want the best outside rusher at that point. And instead, they took a corner who wasn't rated that high. So the question becomes, you know, if you're the Giants, do you take a need or do you take the best player available? Let's say the best player available at that point was a running back, but you got Saquon Barkley. You don't need a running back. Well, that's the best player available. Do you take him or do you take a lesser player? That's the dilemma.
When you say best player available, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's got to be a second best player available or a third.
Absolutely. 100%. But
okay. And while I understand what you're saying, and that no pick after the first one is ever a sure thing because you don't know who's lurking in the background.
Right.
Okay. You never know. But I mean, if you know that your guy is okay, we're coming up on him. There's 4 teams ahead of me. I don't trust the second team.
Right.
Okay. So now maybe I got to go to the first team. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm the 5th team. Now I got to go to the first team and try to make a deal. You know, it may cost me something, but if I get this guy, I'm going to be in better shape. So I could see the point of looking to trade up or trade down.
Yep.
But it's just that whole phrase, best player available. That to me is something that way past, once you get into the 20s and 30s and second and third round, I could live with hearing that. But in the first round, there's got to be enough players for everybody.
Let me ask you. So I'll give you a quick scenario, right? So again, Hard Rocket Sports. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll talk a little football to start the show off. My dad's hanging in. We're going to get to him in about 2 minutes. Here's the scenario. I'll give you for this year. So the Giants are picking 6th. They desperately need a number 1 receiver, right? There are 3 guys in the draft who most people think are number 1 receivers, okay? Harrison Jr., Marvin Harris, Harrison Jr., the kid from LSU, and the kid from Washington. So now let's say the Giants get to 6, and all 3 of those guys are gone. The 3 best receivers the Giants think in the draft, all 3 of those guys happen to be gone before they pick. The Giants get there, and the best player on their board, the number 1 player on their board, is now a left tackle, Joe Alt from Penn State. That's the best player available right there. But there's 3 other receivers. They're lower on the list for the Giants. They're not as good. Now, if you're the Giants, you already have a left tackle in Andrew Thomas. He's the 3rd best left tackle as ranked by Pro Football Focus. You don't need a left tackle, but Joe Alt's there. Do you take Joe Alt as the best player available and figure it out? Or do you take a lesser receiver, a guy who's probably not meant to be drafted till later in the first round? Do you take him there? That's the idea of the best player available versus your biggest need.
I understand that. I don't get me wrong. I totally understand it. But here, I'm going to complicate your matters a little bit. Okay, you said you got Thomas, right?
Yeah, Andrew Thomas.
Okay,
yeah.
So you got Thomas as your left tackle.
Yep.
What's the right side of your line look like?
Right now, not very good.
Okay, so do you take Alt and move him over to the right side? Do you take Alt and move Thomas over to the right side?
Well, what we've seen in past is not everybody can flip sides and automatically become that right tackle.
You're 100% right. I know that.
But that's and again, these are the dilemma. Yeah, you could say, you know what? I'm going to draft Joe Alt. He's going to be my right tackle for 2 or 3 years. Thomas's contract's up. I'm not going to give him the next one. Joe Alt will move over in his 3rd year and be my left tackle. So there's a thought process. But you don't really need that. What you really need is a top-notch, over-the-top receiver, and the second batch of guys aren't quite there. So that's the quandary that if you're a general manager, depending on how the breaks happen for you, you could be looking at down the barrel of, all right, the guys that I really wanted are not here. What do I do? Now, at that point, you could trade down, like we talked about, which we'll talk about when after my dad, we'll go through the very beginning of the draft and kind of lay it out for our teams. But That becomes a quandary. You say, oh, screw it. You know what? I'm going to move down 5 places, 7 places. I'll get one of the receivers in a better spot, and I'll pick up draft capital.
Well, listen, let's pick up your dad because I want to talk about the Jets at number 10 anyway, and what they may be getting into. But I got more thoughts on that. But let's speak with him first.
All right, let's get my pops on. Let's see what he wants to talk about. Then we'll come on back to let me drop this off the screen. And Pop.
How you doing, guys? You look good.
What's up, Mr. Florio?
You guys gave a lot of thought to what's going on with the draft.
Yep.
And I agree with you. And there's but how, to me, buying your way down is not really getting you anything. Because how many times does the first 5 really make it?
Well, again, it's unless you got your sights set on a specific couple of guys, there's always that chance that you can drop down, get a similar body at a similar position. So, it's all a crapshoot. You could trade out of the number 6 spot if you're the Giants down to, say, 11 to the Vikings. I think the Vikings are looking to move up in this draft for a quarterback. I think they're desperate for a quarterback. So I think so are the Broncos. So I think those 2 teams can move up and try to draft somebody in the Giants spot. So the Giants have to make that decision that if these X amount of players are gone and they have an opportunity to draft a different guy, can they drop down and get him? And there's no guarantee that the guy they're taking at 6 is going to be great or the guy they're taking at 11 is going to be great. It's all a crapshoot.
I just don't, it's very hard to.
Sure.
It's like Little League. You see somebody, AAA, they bring a guy up, he's rated number 1, number 2, and he winds up being a flubber-dub. And I think the Giants need, before they start looking for quarterback and receivers, they need lines, both sides. And I keep saying it. They need both sides of the line.
They did shore up the offensive line with 3 different signings. Now, again, no guarantees that these free agents are going to come over here. John Runyon Jr., the kid from the Lions. They're good, really good players. Do they need to draft a guy? Yes, I definitely agree with that. The problem is the 2 top offensive linemen are both left tackles, which you don't need. You still have Evan Neal, which I think they're not going to want to give up on yet. And their biggest need right now is a game, especially now with Barkley gone, is a game-breaking wide receiver. They just don't have a guy. They have good ones. I like Wan'Dale Robinson. Hyatt's a good player, but they're not great players. And they need one of the top 3 receivers in the draft. And then they can worry about a lineman in the second round or going to get a quarterback in the second round. And I'll give you my theory on the Giant quarterback in a few minutes. But yeah, Pop, it's a crapshoot. And listen, they went and got the kid Burks, one of the better defensive ends in the game. That gives them Burks, Thibodeau, and Dexter Lawrence on the defensive line. Could they use depth? Absolutely. But at that spot, to me, if you're the Giants, you better come out of there with a top flight receiver.
Yeah, I don't know. Very confusing. I'm very interested in this year's draft.
Absolutely.
I'm dying to see what. I don't think they're going to go quarterback.
No, I would be shocked if they stay at number 6 and take a quarterback. You'll watch my jaw drop.
I'm more interested in the Jets because I'm dying to see how they're going to play this with Aaron Rodgers. Whether they seriously believe he can come back from 2-3 years of not playing football. Do they incorporate him automatically into the lineup?
Oh, sure. Day 1, he's training camp, spring camps, training camp, and day 1 of the season, barring another injury. And I think if you get another injury, I think.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to get much out of him this year?
If he stays healthy, why not? They drafted. I'm sorry. They signed a bunch of free agent players that, if they all remain healthy, this team could do something. But all it's going to take is 1 or 2 nagging injuries throughout the year.
I mean, he hasn't played in how many years now?
Oh,
2 years?
Be 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
And he's, 39, 40?
40, yeah.
So he's still going to be better than some of the other options they got. It's going to be better than Zach Wilson.
You would be better. Tommy would be better
than
some of what they got now.
I think they're a little short and chubby for quarterback at this point in time. But
All right, I'm gonna let you guys go.
Thanks, Bob.
Talk. Tommy, I'll see you over the weekend.
I'll see you over the
Jeff,
weekend,
Take
Pop.
care. Talk to you later, buddy.
You got that.
You later,
That's,
Mr.
that's
Porter.
my daddy checks it every week. I'll give before we get back to the draft. I'll give you an interesting one though, Jeff. At this point, when do the Jets pull the trigger on the Zach Wilson thing? Obviously, nobody's going to trade for him, right?
Dude, listen. First of all, who was going to trade for Zach Wilson?
I'm not disagreeing.
Nobody was going to trade for Zach Wilson. Nobody under the sun was going to trade for Zach Wilson.
Right.
Here's the problem with Zach Wilson. This fucking retard owner wants Zach Wilson to learn from Aaron Rodgers, and he's not going to allow them to get rid of Zach Wilson.
There is the outside chance that at some point this year, Zach Wilson is the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. Think about it. You're talking about a 40-year-old quarterback who hasn't stayed healthy in a while. He had the bad thumb with Green Bay's last year. He got obviously with the Achilles, two different things. But you're 40 years old in the NFL. Things break down. Tyrod Taylor has a very interesting medical history in the NFL.
Tyrod Taylor is made of glass too.
Exactly. So, I have to tell you, if I was a Jet fan and I went to opening day and Zach Wilson was even a fan in the stands at this point, I might commit suicide because the thought process is, well, Jesus Christ, if you got to figure at some point Aaron Rodgers is going to miss a game. Somewhere along the line, he's going to miss at least one game. And there is a real good chance in that game that he misses that Tyrod Taylor will play and get hurt. And all of a sudden, here comes Zach.
There is. I
love Frankie.
What a pain in the ass.
But I mean, as a Jet fan, are you banging on the pipes? Are you screaming out the window? Just release the guy. I mean, I know that
what do you get out of keeping him? What do you get out of keeping him?
I don't know the answer to that. That's why, to me, his teammates hate him. The fans can't stand the sight of the guy. He hasn't done anything to give you any sort of thought that he will be a productive NFL player, at least, and at the very least, not on your team. To me, bite the bullet, let the kid go. But they're trying to either. Could you be sitting there thinking that somebody's going to offer you a 3rd round pick, a 4th round pick for the kid?
Justin Fields, who became the hottest thing since the fucking baked potato out of the oven.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still
got a 6th round pick.
Yeah.
In a trade. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that could run, that was definitely a better quarterback than Zach Wilson, and they got a 6th round pick for him from a team that needed a quarterback. Because we don't know what Pittsburgh is up to and what they're doing.
Right.
Okay, so that's actually an interesting story over in Pittsburgh. But now here comes the Jets and their bullshit. What is the plan with Zach Wilson? Okay. I think what they should do is that the fans should storm the stadium, not go in for any preseason home games, and just completely fucking protest Zach Wilson being on the team.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting situation where,
wait, stop. Ban him right now. I want him fucking banned right now. Because that is a possibility right there.
But you know what? That is a possibility that the Jets would have to give up something and Zach Wilson. I mean, they'd have to trade a 5th round pick and Zach Wilson for a 7th round pick. I mean, that's legit. And as dumb as that sounds, but
look what his trade proposal is. I'm not digging that one.
No, nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. I love Frankie, but yeah, I mean, listen. The whispers are that the Vikings are interested in bringing him in. Problem for the Vikings, problem for the Jets is the Vikings know that nobody else is interested, and the only way that the Jets are going to get rid of him is to dump him. So everybody's going to sit back and wait, and somebody will sign him and bring him to camp and give him a shot. Somebody will.
When you were a kid, right, and your grandfather, you remember your grandfather, of course, right?
Sure.
And there was things that your grandfather had. You're like, wow, I'd like that. That's really cool. I'd like that.
Yep.
There was no way you were going to get it.
Right.
While Grandpa was alive.
Yeah.
So you had to wait for Grandpa to be gone.
Yep.
Forever, in order to get this thing and hope that it went to you, right?
Sure.
Okay. So that's what the Minnesota Vikings are. They already have Sam Darnold, which I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I do understand it more than Zach Wilson. I could say that much. They want to bring in Zach Wilson for what?
Yeah.
For what? You don't have to make a trade with the Jets. Sooner or later, they're gonna cut him. They gotta.
I think that's yeah. You think that though, but maybe not. Think about it. You're gonna have a third quarterback on your roster, right? No, every team's gonna have a third quarterback. They could be dumb enough. I'm sorry, but they could be dumb enough to say, "Screw it, we'll hold on to him and see if anybody begs us for him." And that's
who's gonna beg you for him,
Jeff. To me, the answer is nobody. But otherwise, if you already know that nobody's going to trade with you, and nobody is, even if 5 teams lost their starting quarterback tomorrow, nobody is giving up anything to get Zach Wilson. So the best
is a list of quarterbacks that I see coming back into the NFL before anybody trades for Zach Wilson.
Agreed. I'm with you on that one. So
Cam Newton.
Okay.
Drew Brees. Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw.
They're all playing before Zach.
All of those guys would come back into the NFL before somebody trades for Zach Wilson. Why would you trade for him when you know that all they're trying to do, let this kid go into the USFL, the CFL? What do you care? Just pat him on the ass and get the fuck out of here. Go ahead.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I think again, I think the only point of my conversation is if you're Woody, if you're Joe Douglas, you cannot go into training camp in July and say Zach Wilson is number 3, number 4, number 5 on our roster. Zach Wilson can't be in the state of New Jersey. He's not even allowed to visit the state of New Jersey after June, because to me, otherwise,
you're not allowed in Jersey.
Yeah,
you're saying
pretty much, because otherwise it's just going to be sitting there going. It's going to be constant people going, well, what happened? Because all they're going to ask Rob Saleh every week is, well, what happens if Zach Wilson has to play? What if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt? What if Tyrod Taylor gets? And he's just going to be answering, and he's going, no, his teammates don't want it. No, his teammates. It's a constant distraction. They just have to. Woody's got to realize they blew it. They drafted a guy because he looked good in shorts and a t-shirt, and they blew it. And they all have to eat it and just move on. This guy has no redeeming value. So we'll see. It's listen, it could be a draft night thing also. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, and we're going to get to that right now. I
see Daniel Jones getting traded and is a viable trade before anybody comes to draft or trade for Zach Wilson. I just don't see it. I agree too.
I agree with you. So I wholeheartedly could not disagree with you on it. But we'll see. Let's see how long it drags out. I would say, even for his own good, the Jets should release the kid. Even for his own good, just to say, hey, we appreciate the effort. It wasn't there. Go get a start someplace else. Because realistically, what could you really expect back from a number 7 pick, a 7th round pick? I mean, is that really worth holding on to this kid? So we'll see how it plays out. But here's the Jets. So here's the draft, Jeff. So let's talk my little bit of draft strategy that I see happening and playing out here. So we all see that with the Bears, the Redskins, and the Patriots have the first 3 picks. What is the common denominator for those teams, Jeff? What is the need?
Everybody needs a quarterback.
Okay, so let's say it plays out the way it's supposed to, and the Bears take Caleb Williams. I'm gonna say that if you're the Patriots, you hope they take Jalen Daniels from LSU, and that Drake May winds up in New England. But let's say either way, those 3 quarterbacks, the guys most people think are the top 3 quarterbacks, are now out. They're done. They're out. And now we have left is Bo Nix,
Penix, right?
Penix, and J.J. McCarthy. So there's the next 3 best quarterbacks. All have issues. Bo Nix is about 40 years old, applying for Social Security. J.J. McCarthy didn't throw 10 passes in college. His team they ran the ball instead of letting him throw. And Penix is 25 with more injury history than Daniel Jones. So let's say those are the next 3 quarterbacks. But if you're Arizona and you're the Chargers, are you taking a quarterback there? Probably not. Right?
I would think not, no.
Okay, so I think the Chargers got rid of the receiver you guys picked up. What's his name?
Williams.
Mike Williams. I think they made that trade because they're going to draft a receiver. Okay? I think if Arizona stays where they are, they may draft a receiver. But what I see happening there, I think Arizona is going to trade with either Minnesota or Denver. One of those teams is going to move all the way up, and they're going to take one of the next quarterbacks. Could be
Listen,
McCarthy.
I'm going to tell you something when you're done
Okay.
that may make sense. But go on.
All right. So let's say Arizona trades out with Minnesota, like I think is going to happen. Minnesota moves up, and they take one of the quarterbacks. Which quarterback doesn't really matter, but I'm going to say they take Bo Nix at that point. I think Bo Nix may be the best of what's left. Chargers take a receiver. They take Marvin Harrison Jr. Now the Giants are on the board. They have two of the top three receivers in the draft. They have the second batch of receivers of quarterbacks, and they have all the offensive linemen in front of them. The Giants will draft the kid from Washington, Rome Dudsey. I think that's how I say his name. He will be the Giants' pick at that point. So getting to that point now, I got the Titans. They need help. The Falcons need help.
Titans need help, but let me ask you something.
Okay.
Right off the bat, I don't remember who's the Titans quarterback. Levi?
Will Levis.
Will Levis. Okay. Are they a potential trade partner?
Yes.
For a
So
quarterback.
now, if Arizona sits still and takes a receiver, then yes, I do see there's a chance right there that the Tennessee Titans could trade out there with either the Vikings or Denver.
Tennessee, Atlanta, and Chicago with the 9th pick could all possibly be trade partners for a quarterback.
Well, agreed. But here's the thing: if you're the Giants and you make a trade and you take the receiver there, right? Tennessee, Atlanta probably won't, and the Bears already have a quarterback. So if you're Minnesota and you're Denver, theoretically, if you get through Tennessee, you're probably already going to get that quarterback if you want one of the second-level quarterbacks. Question is, do you want? That's the question is, how much do they value? Now, if I was the Giants, I am not taking a quarterback there. I think two of those three quarterbacks will be left when the Giants get to the second round. I don't think anybody's taking Penix in the first round, and I don't believe anybody's taking J.J. McCarthy in the first round. I'd be shocked. I think McCarthy's value is sky high. I do not believe anybody takes him.
Tom, you know what? It's the way that people look at that position. Okay. Right now, you said Denver needs a quarterback. I wouldn't want to go into the season in their shoes.
Sure.
I wouldn't want to be Minnesota, a team that was doing all right for themselves, and now you're going to hand it over to Sam Darnold?
Right. So the question, if you're Minnesota, is do you get nervous and either want to trade with either the Arizona Cardinals, the Giants, to make sure that you get the quarterback that you want, fearing that somebody on the back end, whether it's Denver, I don't think the Raiders.
Listen, look at the Raiders. They may be looking. What about the Saints? They got Derek Carr. Who knows? The Seahawks. You don't know.
Yeah.
You could go all the way down to the Rams. You don't know.
Yeah. Listen, there is some. I think there's some possibilities. I think if you're the Saints, you're banking on Carr for a couple more years. You're not looking there. The Raiders, that is a possibility. The Colts have their guy in Anthony Richardson, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow. The Rams are a possibility.
The Seahawks.
Yeah, you're right. The Seahawks with Geno Smith as their lead guy, and then they
Geno Smith only because of age. I would say that they would look at him. What is he going to be, like 34?
Yeah, something to that effect now, I think. Yeah. So, and then once you get past here, all these teams now, Minnesota again has another pick. They can, they can take a quarterback at that spot if they wanted to. Dallas is an interesting conversation. Green Bay has theirs. Tampa just signed Baker to a 3 or 4 year deal. So, Buffalo's not taken. Detroit's probably not taken.
Buffalo, listen, don't discount Buffalo doing anything, not for a quarterback. Who's their wide receiver?
Well, listen, we'll start. We're going to do our first mock next week. We'll do a first round mock to see where we think it's going to run. And it's very possible. Yeah, they could try to make a jump up here in the draft to try to steal a receiver.
How about up to number 9 with Chicago?
I think if you're going to see it happen, it might happen right here. It depends on who's still left. Now, even past the first 3 guys in the draft, there are 2 or 3 more guys who are really good players. Now, the Jets, let's get to the Jets a little bit. I've been hearing nothing but more than Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia. Everybody loves the kid, big size, great hands. The Jets going tight end here. I have a problem with it because I think you're going to see a couple of the big offensive linemen there. And I don't, even with Tyron Smith, if I was the Jets and Joe Alt or one of those guys is there, I don't know how you, as a Jet executive, you don't take an offensive lineman with the way that offensive line's been for 5 years. Jeff, how do you take a tight end in that spot? Which I know is a need, believe me.
I wrote it down. I'm actually putting the book away because you hit it right now as I wanted to make sure that we touch base about it. That would be the last person I take. Now, yes, it would be nice to get the next Travis Kelce on your team or Rob Gronkowski, without a doubt. But you're right. You signed two fragile linemen.
Yes.
Okay? So you don't know what's going to happen with them. Is Bowers perfect for the Jets? Maybe.
Frank, I don't disagree.
I would rather go with the offensive lineman.
Yes, because here's the problem, Frank, with Bowers. He don't block like a left tackle. So to me, I don't care who he's pitching and catching it to, Rodgers. If he can't stay upright, and the problem is Jeff nailed it. Tyron Smith is a great left tackle when he's healthy. He ain't been healthy in years. They've got two guys who are fragile at best. And if you think that these guys are going to go through this season and miraculously stay healthy, to me, if I was the Jets and I get there, I'm taking the best player because they need a lot of help. But if that guy is Joe Alt or I can't think of the other kid.
She's like a Polynesian kid or something.
Yes. I'm taking either one of those two guys, and I just took care of my left tackle for the next 10 years. That's what I'm hoping.
You like to think, man. Listen, look, not for nothing. The Jets had one of the best lines in the NFL when they got Mangold and DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
Sure.
Those first couple years.
Absolutely.
They were set for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Ferguson missed one play in his career, and that's because they took him out of the game for that one play.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
So how imperative is it to have a left tackle?
And to me, that's their biggest need. I don't care what you did with Tyron Smith. He's a heck of a player. I get it. Or was a heck of a player. He's no longer that guy. And if you're the Jets and maybe you'll do what you said. Draft him, draft the guy there, put him at right tackle for a year. Pray to God that Tyron Smith is Tyron Smith for one more year and get through the season and then make the flop with Tyron when you get rid of him.
Every single person that the Jets signed, okay, with the exception of one or two people in the free agency period, is all hope that they could play one more year. You know what I mean?
100%. Yes. 100%.
That's what it comes down to.
Yes, and that's a hard way to go into the season. Again, Hard Rocket Sports. That's Jeff and I'm Tom. We're talking NFL draft here, which comes up, I believe it's the 25th?
25th.
How can it be 25th? Today's the 4th.
It's 3 weeks from today.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be the 24th?
Oh,
yeah. I'm sorry. I think I've got something else. Yes, 25th of the month. We'll be sitting right here doing the show. And again, Frankie, if this was a different season and the Jets were just picking a really good piece to go with what they have, I would agree with you 100%. I like Bowers.
I'll give you the scenario for Bowers, okay?
Yeah.
If Mekhi Becton turned out to be the real deal and Elijah Vera Tucker didn't get hurt so much, and then they drafted Tippmann, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yep.
But they had 3/5 of the line, and then they ended up getting one of the three pieces that they got, so that all they got to do is get one lineman in the draft. Then I would say, you know what? Yeah, then I could see going after a tight end, especially if you're saying that he's going to be like Travis Kelce or whatever. But without having a quarterback to throw the ball to him, without having given a line to give him enough time to throw the ball, what's the point?
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm set. We'll do a lot more draft next week. Jeff and I will break down the first round next week on the draft. So look forward to it. But there's a lot of possibilities because the draft is so deep. Now again, I think your original thought, would you say 2 of the 6 will be great players in the draft, or 2 of the 6 will be busts?
What's the quarterbacks?
Yeah.
From what I read, how you doing, John? First of all, second of all, it said 2 of the 6 quarterbacks that are being drafted might end up being busts.
Okay,
I think percentages fall.
Yeah, I got you. I think that's probably very low. I think that in this draft, I would be surprised if more than 2 of these guys, Caleb Williams has a chance. I like Drake May. I think the rest of them are at best serviceable NFL quarterbacks. I think Bo Nix has some ability. He stayed around in college a long time. But I do think he can have a decent run. I'm not a fan of McCarthy. I think McCarthy's a good. I don't know what to play him at. I just think that you took a team to the championship. It's great. They won 15 games. It's great. And they basically said we're going to play great defense and run the football. And when we have to throw the ball, you can throw the ball, but only when you have to. So, Penix has too many injuries. Spencer Rattler, I think Frankie mentioned, I wouldn't touch Spencer Rattler with 2 10-foot poles. That's a guy just is another guy who's a very good athlete. So, you're Frankie. He might be. It's the Julia Roberts Pretty Woman thing. What's his name? Harbaugh has been running around screaming how great a player he is. Yet he never let him throw the football. And I think seriously, if I have any thought, I think that Jim Harbaugh is doing it for a reason. Here's the reason. He wants somebody to jump up either in front of him or his spot to trade for J.J. McCarthy so he can ensure getting Marvin Harrison Jr. He knows that if the team in front of him stays there, there's a really good chance that the Arizona Cardinals take a receiver, and it's probably Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think he's pumping up J.J. McCarthy so either the Vikings or the Broncos jump up in front of them at 4 to grab that quarterback, and he's ensured of getting the receiver he wants. Because I'm telling you, I'm a Michigan fan. I watch J.J. McCarthy, and he's a good player. I'm just not seeing it. But listen, I could be dead wrong. Frankie, I get it. Teams fall in love with it. But again, off of what? His film in college shows me nothing. Again, he's a really good player. I just don't see great. Again, so we'll see. We'll break it down for you next week, and we're looking forward to the draft on the 25th. So let's.
See, you don't know what some of these teams have. They all have reasons for saying things, doing things, trying to trick people.
Sure.
I never thought of that with Harbaugh talking up his old quarterback, and it makes sense. Does he make somebody else make a panic move and be like,
yes,
we got to jump up and take him,
take
this guy or whatever before he goes? Listen, they're not going to turn around and say, well, I don't know about taking him. He's this and that. Of course, they're going to sell him, especially if it's going to help their team.
Yeah, I think that the Vikings or the Broncos are desperate for whoever they think is the next big quarterback of that group. Now, I think it really happens if somebody slips. If Drake May slips down to number 5 or 4, you could see a bum rush up there to get him. But again, I don't see. I think in that number 4 spot, if you were, the fact that they signed Kyler Murray to the long-term deal, I don't see them taking the quarterback. I'll give you one more thing. I told you I'd give you my thought on the Giants and what they're going to do with the quarterback spot. The Giants will draft a quarterback. It will not be at number 6. The Giants will draft a quarterback either late first round or early second round. And here's my thought on
one first-round pick?
One first-round pick. And I'm
Would
not
they
even
be better off keeping that first-round pick this year? Would they have a lot of questions and to draft down, to trade down and take a quarterback in the first round? I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Giants take a receiver at number 6. That's their biggest need. I think if they could get a good quarterback in the second round, it makes sense. And here's why. Let's say this plays out this way. Daniel Jones has a great year next year and another good year the year after that. Okay, has 2 really good years, but the Giants don't win the Super Bowl. All right, now he's going into his last year. He's going to be looking for a bigger deal because he had $40 million. Now he's going to be looking for $50 million. That's the way it works in the NFL. They don't go down in price; they go up in price. If you're the Giants and you draft a quarterback and you give him a couple of years, okay. Now at that point, you're not tied to Daniel Jones if you don't want him. Let's say Daniel Jones goes all world, right? You can at that point you can trade Daniel Jones. You can release him. You can do anything you want. There's not killing you cap wise, and you have your quarterback on the bench and he knows your system for 2 years now. Let's go the opposite way. Daniel Jones is lights out, wins a Super Bowl. He's the next Eli for 10 years, Jeff. He's going to be your guy for 10 years. You now have a guy on your bench who's a second-round pick as a quarterback. Somebody out there wanted him, didn't get him in the draft. You can now take that guy and trade him to that team. So drafting a quarterback here does not mean that Daniel Jones is not the full-time, long-term starter. It doesn't mean that he is. It just means you have drafted an insurance policy in case of. And I think that's the smartest move. But the first round, the Giants have to come out of there with a starting wide receiver who is the next better Odell Beckham. That's my thought.
Oh, listen, anything is possible, but I got to disagree with you on the
what
on the drafting a quarterback as a insurance policy. I think that they all turn around and feel as though that if they get the next best thing, the next big thing, I should say, not next best thing, that's what they're after. That's what they're going for. I think that it's too early in the draft, even at the second round. You know, maybe they I don't know what their plan is. We don't know that, of course.
No.
I personally don't like the idea of that.
All right. Well, again, I got you.
In the draft, then to force it in the first round, second round. I just don't.
No, if you get to the second round and there's if you get the second round and Bo Nix is still there or JJ McCarthy's still there, I would take a long, hard look at it at that point. Not saying I would do it, but you could do it. Now, if the Giants do that, then it tells me that they're unsure that Daniel Jones is their guy long term. If they pass,
if you get yourself a quality player in the first round, let's say you get a quality player in the first round, and now you have the chance to get one of these guys that you just mentioned,
right.
Okay? And you're going to think about it, and you're like, well, let's say Daniel Jones rebounds and has a good year. We could turn around and trade this guy.
Sure.
Keep Jones. Sign a quarterback. I don't feel as though that you should invest a lot of time and effort and money in your second string quarterback anyway. You know, just get somebody that's competent of playing. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. So there's a lot of ways to go. Again, next week we'll break down the draft the way we see it happening, and come on back for that. But for now, let's move on. I want to talk a little hockey because we don't talk a lot of hockey here. Did you happen to see the highlights from last night's Ranger game?
I saw the fight. Yes.
Okay, so I won't have to play it. I don't want to take a chance of playing it. I brought it up just in case you didn't see it, but I wanted to talk. So to me, that's old school, huh?
2 seconds.
What, you want to play it?
No, that's how long it took for them to fucking.
Oh yeah, that's old school. Now listen, did Rempe deserve to get into a fight? Sure, it was a hit to the head on the devil guy. I love the fact that not only did he go, but if you watch it, obviously they all went, but they were like specific dance partners because Goudreau doesn't go after the guy right in front of him. He skates across the ice to go after somebody else. So whatever reason, they all must have said, I got so-and-so, you got so-and-so, you got so-and-so. And it was a heavyweight fight. And to me, there was a whole big debate on, I'm telling you, Fox News, on the FAN, all over the place today on whether hockey, fighting in hockey should be, shouldn't be. And here's what I say. It should be there. I'm not telling you that I want to watch a game where they fight all day long. All I'm saying is somebody does something to my teammate, I want somebody running that guy into the boards. And if they got to drop the gloves to kind of settle it, then let's settle it. And it went to be a good hockey game afterwards and a good win for the Rangers. I have no problem with that. That's old school Eddie Shore hockey. I'm all in.
You know, I had to look up how many penalty minutes this guy had. Rempe, that's how you put it?
Yeah, Rempe.
And he has 69 penalty minutes.
Yes.
And I think he's played like 7 games or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
He hasn't played many games.
Nope.
The next leading penalty minute guy on the Rangers was like 67 minutes. I didn't do much more investigation around the league and everything, but the games and times of players getting 250 plus minutes of Penalties in a season seem to be over.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's the Lady Big Trophy time. Yeah.
Maybe you need that physical presence, but they also changed the rules in hockey too. And with so many rule changes, why do you want a guy whose main focus is to go out and beat the fuck out of somebody else? It's first of all, the importance of taking up a roster spot.
Yep.
Where if somebody gets injured, you don't want to turn around and look and say, yeah, this guy could punch a hole through the wall, but he doesn't know how to hold a stick right either. So you need somebody that could definitely, next man up. When you say next man up, you want him to be able to, play, not just.
He's got to at least be a fourth line guy where he gets, where you get 10 minutes of ice time a game, and you can put the puck in the net when you need to, and you can shut down the other team's second line penalty power play team. So yeah, I agree with you. You can't,
Frank. I'm not saying that he falls into that category. I'm just talking overall in the NHL. The days of having a goon or two on your team aren't needed as they once were. Years ago, it was like somebody, Ty Domi, Bob Probert, Rob Ray, I believe was his name, Dale Hunter. You had all of these tough guys, Bookaboo, McSorley. You don't need them now. It's a completely different kind of game.
Agreed.
When they took out the double pass, the double lines, or whatever it is, it's been so long, I don't even remember. You're going to need guys with speed, guys with finesse. You don't need a bull in a china shop anymore like you once did. They used to. We could stand here all day and talk about some of the guys that used to fight in the NHL, and some of them were productive players too. But for the most part, they really weren't. Maybe you would get 3 to 5 goals out of them for on an average, couple assists. You know what I mean?
I'm curious. Who was the toughest? Who was the most skilled tough guy? Like, who was the guy who was not only a tough guy, could fight, drop their hands, but was a great scorer, a great player? Messier comes to mind because Messier was a tough guy.
Messier was a tough guy, but he wasn't. That wasn't his main focus.
No, definitely not. But I'm saying, who was the guy in our generation? I think you go back to
Claude Lemieux.
It's a good one. Yeah, I think Claude Lemieux would fit that category. Yep, that's a good one.
That's a Tikkanen.
Yeah, that's another good one. Esa could put the puck in the net and drop the gloves when necessary. That's a good one.
Probert was a bit of a scorer for a tough guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was not a detriment on the ice. That's not a bad one.
I got 29 goals one season.
Yeah,
for a fighter, he might as well have been Wayne Gretzky.
That's very true. Yeah, again, I think there is something to. I think that it's fighting in hockey. Now, what you saw last night in the Ranger game is not something that happens often, nor do I think it needs to happen. But I think, especially when you get toward the playoffs,
that almost seems like it was staged.
Sure it was.
Where you had all of these guys.
There's no doubt.
Put them out there, and 2 seconds, and what was it? 8 guys got thrown out.
I think 8 guys got thrown out. Yeah, it was 162 penalty minutes
in the first 2 minutes.
No, for the game, I think. All told, but think about it. All those guys got 10-minute game misconducts. They all got 5 minutes for fighting. So
years ago, it used to be great because you would see 2 guys, they would square off in the first period.
Yep.
And then there they are later on in the game, roughing, fighting.
Yep.
Roughing, fighting, game misconduct. Season misconduct or whatever. They would get so many minutes in one game. It was like, was this guy ever coming back for his career?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, again, I think there's a place in it in hockey. I think that one thing that listen, some teams play tough, right? They run you to the boards. They take shots. They run at the goalie. That's a big thing that's gone on over the years. I know it's been there's a lot of legislation on it, a lot of rules against it, but they do. What you want is that guy on the bench who's going to say, "You run my goalie, I'm kicking the living piss out of you." And so a guy like Rempe, I think, is a value. Now, I think to your point, he can't be just one guy who, he doesn't even own skates. He goes out there with, golf shoes on because all he's going to do out there is go out there, drop the gloves, and throw punches. He's not doing anything. You can't have that guy anymore. But Rempe can play, but you can't. But to your point, it's got to be it's got to be some of both.
Well, it's like, listen, most times, what was an enforcer on your team? The enforcer was not 5'8" and 170 pounds. The enforcer was over 6 feet, probably in the neighborhood of about 220 plus.
Yeah.
And an absolute monster. Look at Stu Grimson. The guy was like 6'6", close to 230, 240, whatever he was at the time.
Sure.
You're talking about a big man.
Yep.
Ty Domi was a small little guy, but he was tough.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, sure.
But you want somebody that could definitely. Now I don't know much about hockey nowadays because I choose not to watch it.
Yep.
Rempe, okay. Every year there seems to be somebody that comes up with the Rangers or local hockey teams, has a few fights, gets a goal or so, helps win a game, and then next year you'll never hear from him again.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be languishing somewhere up in Quebec, playing hockey on a Friday night at 3 a.m. because that's what he does. Waiting to finally get called again by somebody else.
Yeah, listen, and it's also very possible. Like I said, I thought that was I actually thought that game was refreshing. I thought it was a good played game. After
Isn't
that,
the guy like 6'7" too?
Yeah, he's 6'7", 220, 230, I think. Yeah, that's a good kid.
Player. It's like a basketball player and then on skates. My God, he must be like 6'10".
That is a very, very big kid. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. So good. It was refreshing, and I tell you what, playoffs are coming. This Ranger team, I gotta tell you, there is no nothing short of a cup will do this year. This team is good enough to win a cup. This team it should win a cup. They have to at the least get to the Stanley Cup and play Game 7. Anything short of that would be a complete disaster. They have played great hockey all year. They have some of the best players on the ice. I mean, they've had great seasons. There is nothing this team can't do, although the defense lately has not been great.
I think right now
I agree, Frankie. Just saying it as you typed it. Yeah, the defense needs to get better. All right. I
think that they're top. They're the President Trophy winner right now, and they still have some games left. 5 games.
Yep. And again, that doesn't mean that only means something because I think winning that trophy would avoid at least one of the teams. I'm trying to think who it was. It's not Columbus. I don't know. If they were to win that, they would get a much easier path than if they wind up not winning it. So, but yes, right now the one thing I would, if I were the Rangers and I could go out and fix, would be the defense. Short of that, they have 2 top flight goalies. They can score. The power play is good. They do a lot of good things. The Rangers. There's a lot of depth there. This is going to be fun playoffs. We'll cover a lot of it here, so stick around for that. But we'll move on for tonight.
You want to bring up some hockey? I got to ask you a couple hockey questions. Let's see what you know.
Here we go.
All right, one.
Yep.
Aside from the Yankees, right?
Yep.
Who has the next most amount of championships in the Big Four of sports?
In the Big Four of sports, I would say it's the Montreal Canadiens.
100%. Yep.
Definitely.
Okay. When was the last time the Canadiens made it into the Stanley Cup and won the Stanley Cup?
Wow. I'm trying to think now. I would think it's got to be the 1980s.
I think it was 1993.
Okay.
It was the year before that the Rangers won. A year or 2 before the Rangers won was the last time that they actually won the thing. That's like
wow,
their longest stretch. Yeah, Patrick Waugh was the goalie.
I mean, you're going back close to 40 years. You're 30-something years. Yeah, 30 years now. So that's quite the impressive streak of not winning. And that's a franchise that up until the 80s, or let's say even the late 70s, early 80s, was probably the greatest hockey dynasty. You could argue Boston. You can argue Detroit, maybe.
Keep going. I got to take a quick squirt.
But yeah, no problem. But Montreal was that generation to generation to generation. I grew up watching and hating with Cornwallis and Ken Dryden and Guy Lafleur and that whole crowd. That was some team. They kicked the shit out of Rangers in 79 or 80. 79. The Phil Esposito led Rangers went to the Cup. JD was standing on his head right through the first game when they won that first game, and then that was it, right out the window. But Montreal Canadiens, I think they have 20. I want to say it's 21 or 22 Let's see, Montreal. How many titles do they have? I think it's in the 20s, if I'm not mistaken. I think the next baseball one is the I think the next baseball one is the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Cups, Montreal Canadian, Stanley Cups, Stanley Cups. Sorry, guys. It's hard to type and I'm trying to figure that out. Let's see. Maybe Jeff can figure it out. I don't know. I know it's got to be into the 20s.
What's that?
Do you know how many cups that Montreal's won? Is it in the 20s?
Good evening,
Yeah,
Jeffrey.
it's definitely in the 20s.
24, Frankie said.
It's 24 could be it. I know it's definitely in the 20s. The Yankees have what, like 26 or 27 world champions?
27, yeah.
Yeah, so then the Canadians have it's in the 20s. It may be 24. It may even be, it wasn't as much as the Yankees. So
No.
it may be 22 or 24, something like that. Frankie may be right.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it online, but I can't. But yeah, again, the second most successful. I know the Celtics have a lot of titles. The Cardinals have a bunch. So there are a bunch of teams. But
Cardinals. Which Cardinals?
St. Louis Cardinals. Baseball.
What sport?
Baseball.
I don't think they have as much as you think, bro.
I want to say that I thought, I mean, I could be wrong, that they were second in World Series titles to the Yankees.
That I don't know where they sit, but I don't think so, man.
Okay.
I would say, you know what? I would say the Dodgers, if anything.
Okay.
That's just my guess. If I had to take a guess.
Series wins.
And yes, it was the on 1993, the Canadians beat the Kings 4-1.
Let's see. Okay, so World Series champs. So I they don't have it broken down. Let's see if we can figure it out real fast. So St. Louis has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
St. Louis Cardinals 11 titles.
10 and 11. Yep, you're 100% right. So 11
So
titles.
Yankees 27.
Mhm.
San Francisco Giants 8. Dodgers, man, only 7.
Yep.
Boston Red Sox 9 titles. But when you win 8 of those 9 titles in the year 1893, they really don't count.
It's a little less, yeah.
The Atlanta Braves.
Yep.
Here's something. Wow. Only 4 titles.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man,
So
I would have thought it would have been more than that.
Yeah. So the Cardinals have the second most World Series titles in baseball. So yeah, I knew they were close, and I think the Celtics are right behind at 17. That's Frankie's right. So yeah, a lot of titles, but the Yankees still have 27, and hopefully this year, the way they're going, we'll talk a little baseball in a minute. I want to get some music in. I want to talk about the most epic world tour of all time, Jeff. This was your topic.
Oh, well, I don't know if we call this epic. I call it sad more than epic.
Well, I'm trying to find the logo for it, but I haven't found it yet. So why don't you tell everybody about the tour you found? Go ahead.
Well, this actually goes back to last week with your friend Tom, Matt Salitri.
Yeah.
And he was saying how Def Leppard could probably sell out arenas and stuff like that. But we turned around and told him, say, they could sell out, yeah, if they'll be playing with other people. And then I come across it. And we got Def Leppard, Journey. Okay. So actually
Hey, I got it. Let me put it up on the screen.
The main acts are Def Leppard and Journey, and then artists below vary by city. So Steve Miller, Heart, and Cheap Trick. So evidently it's depending on, I guess, the availability and where they are will depend on if with Cheap Trick, Heart, or Steve Miller is with them. But here's something more important. Steve Miller is like in his late 70s, I believe.
I bet you Cheap Trick ain't far behind.
I don't know.
I would be shocked if those guys weren't in their early 70s to mid 70s. I'll be
You
surprised.
think so?
Hold on, let's look them up. I can't imagine those guys did Budokan when they were 73. Those guys did Budokan, I think, in 73. So I mean, do the math. Hold on.
Steve Miller is 80.
Okay, here it is. Cheap Trick Wikipedia. Let's see if we get birth dates.
Did you hear that?
Steve Miller's 80.
Steve Miller is 80.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Rick Nielsen formed Fuse in 1967 with Tom Peterson, the bass player. Let's see. They're not giving them their birth dates. Let's see if I can get.
Frank just said that Robin Zander is 71 years old.
Okay, I would have thought they were even older than that. Okay, Robin Zander. Let's see if they give his born 1953. Robin Zander, so 71.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, that is not shocking to me. In fact, I'm kind of shocked that they're not older. Rick Nielsen, a guitar player, born in 48. He is 74, 76. He'll be 76 this year.
So you know what? I'm going to say something and bring up a sad point. Do me a favor. Look up the age of the Wilson sisters, Ann and Nancy Wilson.
Okay.
Because I know Bunny Carlos is not in Cheap Trick anymore.
No, he's gone.
And I don't even
born
know
in 1950.
who.
So, Ann Wilson. So she is 74 years old.
74 years old.
Yes, Ann.
Do you realize that one day we're going to wake up and these guys are just going to start dropping like fucking flies, that bands like Kiss, Sabbath, Maiden, Priest, Steve Miller, Heart, Cheap Trick, there's going to be nobody left.
And Wilson is 400 pounds. And Nancy Wilson is 70 years old. So she's the baby of the bunch. So
Ann Wilson is a box of Twinkies away from the grave.
Yeah, she's one ham sandwich from what Mama Cass.
Oh my God, that's bad.
But think about it. Think about this. Def Leppard is probably the babies of the bunch. Those guys got to be in there.
They got to be in their late 60s.
I would say they got to be mid 60s or so, right?
Yeah, definitely. What do you fuck? Of course.
Joe Elliott, English rock singer. I'll tell you right now. Joe Elliott is 8 years older than I am. So yeah, he's 65 years old.
Phil Collin, I think, is the oldest of all of them. In that band. I'm looking him up right now.
Oh, you got him. Go ahead.
He was born in 57.
Okay, so he's 10 years older than us.
All right, so
he's older than me. So yeah,
he's 70 from his fucking chair.
He's 67 years old.
66.
So, yeah, so think about it. Now, so they're the babies of this bunch.
Damn, man. Wow.
Yeah, so listen, when I am a big defender of the bands. Go out there. Listen, I saw a video of what's his name? Mick Jagger warming up recently for a concert or maybe for his tour. The guy's 80 years old. He was moving. On my best day, I couldn't move as well as this guy was moving. So
yeah, I know, but you know what, Tom? Did you also talking about somebody that, how the fuck is he alive?
No, I get
alive.
I get it, but my point is, if you're healthy and you can still play and you can do it, go out there and keep doing it. I'm all for it. But to Jeff's point, and this was the kind of the argument we had with Matt. Did you see Kiss sold out all their right? Yes, I want to get to that next, Frankie. Hang on to that one for a second. I did.
You know what? I bet you any amount of money, any amount of they don't better watch it if Gene make you. Okay, that they're making money on that, of course.
Yep,
they're going to make more money on something else.
Yeah, well, there's got to be an ulterior motive, but we'll get to that. But to Jeff's point and Matt's argument, I get that Def Leppard's still a good band. I get that they can still sell out places. But if there's no way in the world that Def Leppard's going out on a tour, playing arenas, I'm assuming that these are all playing. They're playing in Flushing, New York, so I'm assuming they're playing at Citi Field. I'm assuming these are all arena stadiums. But Def Leppard is going out by themselves with, let's say, an unknown band. Jeff, they're not selling out
No.
20,000 seat arenas.
No.
They're not splitting the gate with 1, 2, 3, 4 other bands. Okay, think about it, guys. You're splitting the gate with these bands. Whatever that fee is, they're not doing that unless they absolutely have to. This isn't a festival where you're playing all day and you're paying thousands of dollars to get in there, and there's 10 bands for the day. This is a concert, 3 hours, and you're out. These bands are coming on playing 5 or 7 songs, and they're each getting a piece of that gate. So Def Leppard's not doing it out of kindness of their own heart. Def Leppard, Journey, Steve Miller, Heart, and Cheap Trick are playing this show. These are all 80s bands. These guys were selling out stadiums.
Well, I was just going to say that. First of all, maybe with the exception of Cheap Trick or Steve Miller, all of these were arena headlining bands at one point in time. I just don't know enough about Steve Miller.
Yeah, me either.
Cheap Trick plays some smaller places now. Were they that big that they were able to play?
Dude, it wasn't that long ago that Cheap Trick was getting paid to play private backyard parties. It wasn't that long ago. 10 years, 15 years ago, they were getting paid $10,000 to show up and play in somebody's backyard.
Wow.
So, again, I like Cheap Trick. I'd like to actually go to this because I've never seen Journey. I've never seen Cheap Trick. I've never seen Def Leppard.
At this point in time, which Journey is going to show up?
I don't know. They hate Kane and what's his name? What's the guitar player's name?
Frank, how could you say that about Steve Miller? The guy's 80 years old. What do you want to run all over the fucking place?
Well, he brings the Heart Machine out there with him. He'll liven the place up.
Yeah. They probably take him out on a gurney and just fucking prop it up.
He's starting to look like Mick Mars on stage.
Mick Mars looks like Janet Gears on stage.
Yeah, I got no interest in Steve Miller.
You saw him years ago. He was still old years ago. Years ago, he was 70.
Yeah, if I was going to the show, I would have to hope and pray that Steve Miller either went on very first or very last, where I could come in late and leave early. So one of the two. I wouldn't mind seeing Heart. I'd like to see some sort of Journey, although the karaoke thing is still there, so I'm not 100% sure.
You know what? If you went to see Heart, what are you going to see from Heart? Are you going to see the stuff that you want to see from Heart?
No.
Or are you going to see all of the bubblegum stuff that they were doing in the late 80s, early 90s? That's the stuff you're probably going to see.
I would hope you're going to see Magic Man and Barracuda. But again,
just see Barracuda. But I mean, think of some of the stuff that Heart did, the good stuff. That's the stuff that you're not going to see. Probably right.
But again, this is the state of rock music today, and Jeff's right. I've stopped battling with him on this topic because he couldn't be more right. Other than the occasional tour by Iron Maiden or Metallica, there are very far a few bands that will go out on their own without this big, huge tour and play arenas. Now, even Maiden, when they come, it's 17, 20 shows in the United States. Yeah, Europe and South America, they'll play a bunch and they'll sell them out. But here in America, they're playing 20 shows. They will sell those out because it's an event, and that's it. But for Def Leppard, Def Leppard tours every year. Every year, Def Leppard does a summer tour like this, and they drag a bunch of bands. But they don't do it because it's the kindness of their heart. They do it because they cannot sell out an arena anymore. They'd be playing the Beacon Theater if it wasn't for this, right?
Yeah, I'm going to actually, while we're talking about this,
sure,
I want to look up the concert schedule for Madison Square Garden this summer.
Sure, go ahead.
And then
I want to talk about Kiss selling all the rights to everything, which I thought was amazing to me that they would even do. I mean, they got $300 million for it. The rights, I guess it's the right to, Frank, stop me if I'm wrong. It's everything, right? Publishing, all the rights to the music, everything is, they basically sold their soul for $300 million, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. And the problem I have with it is, I get the fact that that's big money. Gene and Paul are splitting it with, by themselves because they probably own the rights to everything else. Do they really need that money now? Like, why wouldn't you want to hold on to that? Pass that legacy of music on to your kids, to your heirs. I mean, I just find it really, why would you want to control that catalog? It's just, boy,
Tom, real quick, this is fucking awesome. Madison Square Garden, the closest thing to a metal concert or any kind of hard rock concert, Incubus and Coheed and Cambria in August, end of August, Pearl Jam beginning of September. That was, wow. There's nobody coming. Nobody. Jeff Lynne's Electric Light Orchestra.
Well, if anybody's interested in this tour, Def Leppard, Journey, Steve Miller, Heart and Cheap Trick in this area, those bands will be coming to Philly, Hershey, PA, Flushing, New York. So I'm assuming they're playing at Citi Field.
Heart and Cheap Trick on October 21st.
Oh, okay. Heart and Cheap Trick, October. Just the two of them? Where are they playing? Your backyard?
The Garden.
Really?
Yeah. Creed goes down in Mammoth on the end of November, and Aerosmith in January. Aerosmith and Black Crowes. That's it, man. That is it.
Doesn't matter. I gotta tell you, Eddie Van Halen's kid annoys the piss out of me. I don't know why. He's got to be the most annoying. First off, he is a ham sandwich away from being Mama Cass. That boy can put him away. Second of all, he's the most annoying human being there is. He really has overtaken some annoying people. Oh my God. I can't even stand listening to him. Hell of a guitar player, hell of a musician. Don't get me wrong.
I think I only have like 1 or 2 songs from him, but he looks like the kind of guy that's sweats during a snowstorm. Like, say he's playing a winter concert for Christmas or New Year's outside at Times Square, and everybody has jackets on, and he's there in a fucking tank top sweating.
He's sweating gravy.
Onions. Yeah,
he is. I'm telling you, I read Blabbermouth a couple times a week for the show, and he's always being quoted in it, and he just comes off as the most obnoxiously annoying human being that ever walked the face of this earth. I can't stand the guy, and I'm a huge fan of his dad and even his mom. I grew up loving Valerie Bertinelli, and I still watch her cooking show on the weekends.
Spent a lot of quality time thinking about his mom.
Sure you did. I'm sure you did, and it wasn't too long ago either.
Just before the show.
Yeah, I watch her every weekend. I usually find her cooking show. She makes some cool stuff, and I watch the show. But I have to tell you, they raised the most annoying offspring. So
let me ask you something. Here's something to ask you about Wolfgang Van Halen. And Frank, I hear you. For the longest time, I was afraid to listen to his stuff. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And then I did, and I'm like, why?
Yeah,
okay, that's one thing. But when you think of Wolfgang Van Halen, what is it that he did to have some of the opinions and be quoted as so many articles as he is? He was Eddie Van Halen's son. You played bass before you tripled in size on a couple of Van Halen shows. And then, once your dad died, that's it. The whole band disintegrated. Michael Anthony knew when to get out when the getting was good.
Yeah.
And now David Lee Roth, some of the videos that he posted him dancing in like that old style fucking overalls and hat, that's to me, it's just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
That is just stupid. That's where his career is now.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. The big news today is that Kiss has sold the brand to Pop House for over $300 million.
That's insane.
Yep.
You're talking about Kiss.
Yeah, I'm talking about Kiss. Sorry, I happen to be scrolling to find the article, and yeah, they sold the brand. So basically, anything that had to do with Kiss. So what does that mean, Frankie? All that the AI stuff that they were going to do, and all of that stuff is now out, and or if it's being done, it's being done by somebody else. I get the fact that they're done, but you would think that Kiss, those guys have enough money where you can control your brand and what it does and what it will do for the next X amount of years without having to sell it off. I find it
300 million.
That's what it says.
Tom, take 10 seconds and think of how much money $300 million is.
I got it, Jeff. But let me ask you a question. How much? I haven't even looked it up. We'll look it up in a second. How much money do you think right now Gene Simmons is worth?
Me, I'm going to say 125 million.
Okay, so Gene Simmons net.
And Paul Stanley, I'll say somewhere about 80 million.
Okay. So Gene Simmons right now, says his net worth is $400 million. Let me ask you a question. Does it really matter to add that $150 million? Now, again, it's $150 million. He's 75 years old. Is he ever going to spend that money? His kids aren't going to spend that money.
Dude, when you have a goal in life and you want to make sure you hit it, maybe 500 million was a goal for him.
Yeah, it must be. But
I mean, I hear you. What the fuck?
Yeah,
what are you going to buy? What are you going to buy?
Yeah, that's my point. So at the very least, you're sitting there with your $400 million in the bank. Let's say it went down to $300 million next week. The Joe Biden put this magic touch on things, and he lost him $100 million. You have $300 million in the bank, and you own the Kiss dynasty. I don't understand why you would have to cheapen it and sell it to Pop House, who now can do whatever they want with it. Now I get probably nobody's going to do anything with the Kiss dynasty or the brand at this point. But man, at some point you got to go, all right, do I really need the money? Let me hold on to my legacy. This is your legacy. This is it. This is your brand, is your legacy. Why would you want to sell that? I don't get it. I'm looking at Paul Stanley.
Because Tom, you know why? Maybe the man is bigger than the brand.
How much is Paul Stanley worth?
I'm going to say 80 million.
$200 million.
Well, that's still a lot less than Gene Simmons.
I got it, but I'm saying again the same point. At some point, your legacy is your brand. It's Kiss, and you'll sit there 5 and 10 years from now, pissing in your pants. Your kids are spending your money, and you go, "I own Kiss. I'm the Kiss." You're not. You don't own Kiss anymore. Now you're done. Kiss is done.
Yeah, but Tom, they're bigger than Kiss at this point in time.
Yeah.
They're bigger than Kiss. They made it. They birthed it. I understand what you and Frankie saying. Frankie said, good for them. It's still their legacy. Yeah, but they're bigger than Kiss. Gene Simmons himself is bigger than Kiss. You said he has $400 million.
Yes.
They sold everything for $300 million. He has $400 million.
Yeah, so I just have to send something out right now. Hold on one second. Hey, Des, tomorrow morning, take the truck you have loaded up to 84th Street. Call me from there.
You know what, Frank?
The one you picked up yesterday.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Isn't there something where when you have rights to their music, sooner or later, the rights run out, they expire, or something of that nature, I believe. So, like in the case of the Beatles, it wasn't so much that I don't think it's that they sold the rights to Michael Jackson. It's just that they lost the rights because they expired or something like that.
And there's also the other problem with that was there were 4 other people. So, it's not one or two people. Yoko was going to sell it and they all went along with it. So, and I'm sure they got money for it. And I think somewhere along the line, they got part of that back. But to me, when you're Kiss and it's Paul and Gene and there's nobody else involved, you can't sell the brand. I'm sorry. I think it's pathetic for them to do that. And whatever. I
think of the people that it hurt. Okay, you essentially fucked Ace and Peter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? You fucked every other musician that stepped in and played with Kiss for however long. You fucked the guys that were there alongside you for 20 plus years, filling in for Ace and Peter. The family or whatever of Eric Carr. What did he get out of all of it? You know what I mean? Like they negated so many different people. It's unbelievable. I guess this means that there'll never ever be a Kiss reunion.
Yeah, I guess they couldn't, right? I mean, at this point, could they go back on stage at any point as Kiss?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it would. Maybe they'd have to buy the name, or they could use the name, or I don't know. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
What are these? The top.
The top 50 wealthiest, richest rock stars.
They might have been paid great, Frank, while they were.
Are you interested to know?
But now you took away any chance of them getting any kind of money from it later on in life. Like did they have a certain percentage? Were they supposed to get anything out of it as they got older? Maybe a retirement, anything like that. They didn't have the money that Gene Simmons had.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I think I find it interesting that they would sell it this soon after they retired. I don't know. I find it. It's a little disheartening. Obviously, listen, they've earned it. They built a brand and they sold it. That's what people do. But for the hell of it, I just looked up and I found the 50 richest rock stars in the world. Are you interested in part of the list? Some of the list?
Can you make it bigger so we can see it? Is there any way you can do that? Or, well, not that.
How's that?
All right, it is what it is.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes.
Can we go through the top 25 or something?
Sure. All right. So no, you want to go number 1 or you want to go 25 down? Which way you want?
Yeah, let's go 25 down. If you can. If not, go 1 through 25.
I can. Sure. No. We can go 25 down. That makes it more fun anyway. Couple surprises in there for me. Okay. So number 25.
I want to see some of the ones that we don't see. There you go. Phil Collins from Genesis, his own
Phil
solo
Collins is number 25. Yep.
What is his worth? Does it say?
Yes, it does. Phil Collins is worth $300 million.
And that's number 25 on the list. Dear God.
That's number 25. Now I'm a little surprised. I didn't think he was that big. Number 24 is Neil Diamond. $300 million. Another guy worth $300 million.
Okay.
Neil Diamond wrote a lot of music for other people. Number 23, James Hetfield is worth $300 million. Not surprising. Not surprising. I don't know why I'm not surprised by that. Number 22 is Dave Matthews, $300 million. That surprises me.
They're big in other
countries. Never.
Wow, look at that.
A lot of money.
Did you see Mr. Joe Gansas come up with something?
No, I'm sorry. I was scrolling.
I don't think we ever.
John Lisa. John Lisa bought it from Jeff in the closet. Yes.
Wow. Well, if he took it to the closet, it's definitely smeared with something. Pronounce that name.
Bjorn Ulvaeus. I'm going to go with.
He looks like Eric Clapton.
He does look like Eric Clapton. Yes, he is also worth. A lot of people worth $300 million. He is best known as one of the members of ABBA. Jeff, worth $300 million.
Oh wow. Okay.
Anna Fried-Lindstedt,
another ABBA member, I believe.
I'm guessing it's another ABBA member. She's also worth $300 million. I guess ABBA made a lot of money in their day.
Yeah, they certainly fucking do, man.
Roger Waters at number 19.
Pink Floyd.
Worth $310 million. Yeah, not a huge Pink Floyd fan, but I guess they made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Grohl, the younger member of the group.
That surprises me that he's up that high. But don't forget, remember something. Dave Grohl was going at it 34 years ago or so, even a little bit more with Nirvana.
Yeah, no, listen, Foo Fighters, Nirvana. He's collaborated with Jack Black for Tenacious D. I'm sure he's done a lot of stuff outside. So, number 17, Jeff, we have Ringo Starr worth $350 million.
Jesus Christ.
Not a surprise. Not a surprise. 16, Lars Ulrich worth more than his bandmate, Jeff. Now, he's worth $350 million. Big douchebag he is.
Wow. He was in and stuff like that. Is that why?
I said is a musician, music producer, and songwriter from Denmark who's earned the first name to be Dr. Rockwell. It doesn't say other than doesn't say he's just doesn't give one of the reasons why. Larry Mullen, I don't know who Larry Mullen is. We'll find out in a second. Musician and actor Larry Mullen earned his fame, fortune, founding member and drummer for the band U2. Worth $350 million.
Wow.
Huh?
Wow.
And now the Edge, also U2. He's probably
his name was Adam Clayton. That's the bass player, right?
Who's the bass player?
Adam Clayton.
I'm not sure. I don't like U2. Don't follow him. But the Edge is the guitar player, and he is worth $400 million.
Yeah, that means Boner.
Oh, yeah.
Boner. There he is.
There's Gene Simmons, helmet head himself.
He looks like Frankie a little bit in that picture, don't he?
$400 million. And that's before he sold the rights to Kiss, so probably worth even more now. Adam Clayton, who I don't know who that is. English born Adam Clayton. Oh, there you go. So there you go. He's worth $400 million. For some reason, a guy I never even heard of is worth more than the guys who are famous in the band, which is the Edge.
Oh, Wardell Boner. He's going to be 11. Up there.
Yeah, oh yeah. John Bon Jovi running in number 11, Jeff. Let's see, $410 million. Not surprising. Not surprising. Very entrepreneurial. Yeah, to be honest with you, you're right. Number 10, Eric Clapton pops up in a very Eric Clapton-like picture. I guess they must use his picture before they couldn't use it twice.
Yeah.
$450 million for Eric Clapton.
Do you know the bands that Eric Clapton were in?
Do I know the bands? Okay, hold on. Let me think about that. Was he in Cream?
Cream. He was the guitar player in Cream. He had something to do with Yardbirds. He was in the Yardbirds for a while. There was somebody else, another big name, Blind Faith. He had something to do with Blind Faith.
Okay.
He was in Blind Faith for a while. And then everything else that the man has done that just turned to gold.
I guess I am not an Eric Clapton fan, to be honest with you. I don't like his style. Derek, I'm not a huge. I would say the answer is no. I understand how the greatness and the legacy and all that. I've just never been a follower of his music. It just never has inspired me. Let's put it that way.
I hear you.
Number 9, Mick Jagger, running in at $500 million. Obviously, Stones. Let's see, celebrated movies included Performance, Ned Kelly, The Bank Job, and Jason Statham. I'm not a big fan of, again, number 8, Keith Richards, also rolling in at $500 million. Surprising to me, but again, a founding member of the Rolling Stones, who performed on some of the most expensive guitars in the world and served as a secondary vocalist for the iconic rock band. Shock, I didn't know any of that. As a record producer, Richards has worked with stars including Aretha Franklin, Ronnie Spector, and Johnny Johnson. Number 7, Elton John. This one does not surprise me. $500 million. Surprised that Keith Richards and Elton John are worth $500 million. This is surprising to me.
I definitely no. I definitely don't.
Not surprised?
No, not at all. Not at all. Especially.
Here's the biggest surprise so far for me: Bob Dylan at number 6. First of all, Bob Dylan sucks. Anybody who thinks Bob Dylan can sing, you're insane. Now, unless his music catalog is worth billions of dollars, I'll never figure this one out. Let's see. $500 million for country singer and songwriter Bob Dylan.
Country singer.
That's what they call him. I thought folk would. Yeah, that's what I would have classified him at. 30 studio albums. He has won 10 Grammy Awards and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Another surprise, a little bit of a surprise. Next one, Sting at $550 million. Jeff.
That's
other than the Police, who didn't have a long run.
Sting hit a pinnacle. I mean, yes, many years ago, but
yeah,
there was a time where every time you put on the radio, there was something with Sting on it.
But I think when 1990 hit, that was the clock. When the clock ran out.
You do the right thing with your money, man.
I guess so. Yeah. Including Sting has appeared in several movies, including David Lynch's Dune, Zoolander 2 alongside Ben Stiller. Business ventures and investments. Okay, multiple mansions. He also supports the Newcastle United Premier League Football Club. And he is appeared 5th place. Okay, number 4, Jimmy Buffett just passed away. Little surprising, but $600 million.
It's a lot of money.
Now, again, this isn't all about how much they made as musicians. Bon Jovi, Jimmy Buffett, another one before Brad into big business. That Jimmy Buffett has the Margaritaville as the luxury resorts that pop up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw a couple down in Florida when I was there. Here he is. His Margarita Holdings LLC company owns restaurants, casinos, and hotels in multiple locations, bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars in annual revenue. Number 3, Bruce Springsteen. Again, another guy can't figure out, but Bruce is worth $650 million.
650.
Now I know that's what it is. 600. So The top 3 richest rock stars are going to be Bruce Springsteen at 650, Bono, you called it,
Bono.
at $700 million. So who's the number 1 guy?
Well, I already saw it, Paul McCartney, and I'm going to guess
you did?
over $1 billion.
How much?
I say over $1 billion.
Let's see if you're right. $1.2 billion, Sir Paul McCartney.
And I did not see what he was worth. I just saw him.
That's not surprising there. Again, one of the great musicians. I think the greatest musician of our generation, probably the last 2 generations, and one of the guys that I really will regret never seeing live. Very, very interesting list. But yeah, so let's move on. I mean, a little surprising, not surprising on the tour for Def Leppard. We all agree that, to Matt's point, Def Leppard's not selling out a string of concerts around the country by themselves. But let's move on. I do want to. Did you see the? We'll talk a little more Mets. Did you see the play where that caused the big uproar last weekend for the Mets getting slid to second base? Did you see that by any chance?
No, I don't. I really don't watch baseball. What was it where he slid in hard to the base or something?
Yes. I'm gonna play it, and I'll show you the play that caused a bench clearing brawl.
Okay.
Oh, I say bench clearing melee. I wouldn't call it a brawl. Nobody was. Nobody was
actually fighting, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good one. Let me hold on. Let me bring it up on my screen. Hold on a second, Jeff. And this is the pussification of baseball in its finest hour. All right. Let's get past the. Give it a second.
I don't know, like a nightmare.
Yeah, that is a nightmare. Give it a second. Wait for the commercial to end, and then we should get to it. So watch this. Ground ball to third. Okay. Did you see it? You want to see it again?
Yeah, I don't think it was that bad, but okay. The guy had plenty of time. What was he doing with he lost his handle on the ball, it looks like.
Yes, he did. Now watch. If you watch, if I can stop it.
Look. One.
Now look. He's 2 steps from the bag. Now watch when he slides. He doesn't slide over the bag. He slides kind of around the bag. And again, even by today's standards, this play was reviewed. Think about this. This play was reviewed, right? And they came back and said it's not a dirty slide. It's not an illegal slide. It's a hard slide. But he maintained contact with the bag. It is not a dirty play, and this is what it caused. I'll finish. That's it. And the player gets up, and not only is he chirping, now it's so bad he doesn't do anything. He waits till the guy walks away, benches are empty, the bullpens come out, and now he's the tough guy. All of that over a slide. You tell me, Jeff.
I mean, these guys are walking out like that. Hey, Mom called us for dinner. Come on, let's go.
Frankie, I got your point. It was a hard slide, and I get the point that they got a history, but that doesn't mean that play should have caused what it caused. And to me, Jeff McNeil is one of the most overrated players in baseball. He is, since they took away the shift, he cannot hit anymore. He was fantastic hitting away from the shift. And if that play bothers you, you should go home, insert the tampon, crawl into a hot bath, and have a mimosa because you're a fag. And that's the best way I can put it. Yeah, exactly.
I saw that he was crying out.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. Grow up and be a man. Just grow up and be a man. To me, that is the pussification of the Major League Baseball player.
I know Frankie's a big baseball guy. I know he's a Met fan. So I'm not ripping on the Mets as much as I am complaining about sports in general today and baseball. Years ago, when Ty Cobb used to come in and do things like sharpen his spikes as he went in feet first into certain slides and everything else, and the way that Pete Rose in an all-star game fucking tried to kill a defenseless catcher and shit. You know, there were plays throughout the years that when you look at them, you'd be like, holy shit. You know, and yeah, you're right. But Tom, I got to go back to one thing that seems to get in like the common denominator is that they're paying so much money for these players that you can't take the chance of any of these players getting hurt. The owners don't want it.
I got you. I'm not disagreeing with you. That I will again get it.
I mean, it has to be. What else could it be? Yeah, okay. Listen, that slide, nobody got hurt. It looked like the guy from the Mets lost a handle on the ball. The guy came in with a slide, so he wasn't able to complete the play. All right. So it was a hard slide. I didn't see anything wrong with the slide. We've all seen worse.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And we've seen some shortstops and second basemen make some incredible plays in situations like that. But it happens. It happens. But now it happens less and less and less. You know, it just not the same.
I agree with you. The Hoskins ran away, and he's a bigger pussy for turning around and being 50 feet away and then acting a tough guy. But if you're Jeff McNeil, that guy goes in and slides that way, you get your ass up, dust yourself off, and move on. There's nothing wrong with that slide, and that's the problem is the pussification of baseball. And
you say that Hoskins was the one that ran away.
Yep.
Is it that he ran away, or was it that he just turned around and didn't think it was that big of a deal and he just walked away?
I think to a certain extent, yeah. I think to a certain extent, to me, in that spot, and I've as an athlete in Staten Island growing up, I would love to do stuff like that. Go hit somebody hard and then just get up and walk away and have them crying about it and just walk away laughing like, I got you. You're upset. Screw you. And the best thing you can do is just walk away. So I get Hoskins. Now you can't 50 feet away, turn around, and everybody's holding you back, and now you're a tough guy. At that point, just do what you did. Do what he did. Rub your eyes. What are you, a baby?
I'll tell you something that I never told you before.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, because I'm going to back up everything that you just said about yourself. Like you used to do this, you used to like to do that. We were playing football someplace, okay? And I hit you.
Okay.
And I don't even remember where it was. Could have been Brusco's backyard. I don't remember where it was.
Okay.
And I hit you, okay? And I tried to hit you hard, not to hurt you, but you were a football player, and I wanted to show you that I was there. The next play, you showed me that you were there. And when you got me, you nailed me. And all of these years later, your mic is off, by the way. It looks like it's shut off, it says on your thing. I don't hear you if you're saying anything. But I remember the next play. Yeah, now I can hear you. The next play, you fucking hit me. And I remember it. And I remember you were mad too. It was
sure I was.
And I remember you looked at me, you blocked me, and you just gave me a look. And I knew. And it wasn't that, it was the backyard. It was no big deal. But I was like, I tried to go up against you. You squelched it right away. But you didn't carry it any further.
No.
Next play was all right, no problems. And then it was like, I hit you, you hit me. But that's the way that it should be.
Absolutely, and that's the respect it needs to be. I one play I'm going to get you, another play you're going to get me.
Yeah, but this was also when we were kids. It was a lot different. Now, who the fuck knows? Maybe there's fucking gang contracts out on people because of hits like that. You don't know what happens.
It's very true.
You know what I mean? Like it's not the same anymore.
No, it's not. It's really not. So again, that's the pussification of baseball. We got the Hard Rock and Sports at Chef, and I'm Tom. We're every Thursday night. We're having some fun. We got about 10 more minutes. I want to get to the Sergeant Slaughter, making the rounds right now. Bob Remus is floating around right now. He was interviewed today. I didn't get a chance to listen to it on FAN, and I saw they did a biography on him. I told you, I know you're not a big TV guy. Every Sunday, A&E channel has they do a whole bunch of wrestling. It's Rivals. They have all different. One week it was the story of The Rock and Triple H. Another week it was Macho Man and Jake the Snake.
If you
They
see
also-
a good one, you got to let me know because I
Oh,
forget about it. It's not that
yeah.
I don't watch TV.
Yeah,
I
it's
watch
every
more
Sunday.
TV now, but I forget about it.
I'll remind you. Every Sunday they replay the old ones. Like they'll play from like 3:00 in the afternoon until 10:00 at night, and then like at 8 they show a new one. So a few weeks ago, they did a Sergeant Slaughter biography, which I haven't seen the whole thing on yet, but I learned a lot about it. I think this week I caught up. They had the British Bulldog. They did a biography on him. Now April 14th they're starting with the Lost Treasures. So they have this group of people like the museum, the WWE museum, which I don't know if it's opened up yet. I don't believe it has. They go around, they try to collect stuff that was either given away or stolen or sold, and they try to recollect it, and it's a blast. So A&E on Sundays, if you're a WWE fan, WWF fan, it's the biography of the legends. There's WWE rivals. They're going to take a rivalry and they kind of do how it worked and how true it was and how some of them are real. Some of the guys hated each other, and then they do the Lost Treasures. But they had the one of Sergeant Slaughter, and I found an interesting one. I went to look up the Sarge, and do you know what stolen valor is? Did you ever hear that term?
What is it called?
Stolen valor.
No, but it must be something that you did to slight somebody or something, I would guess.
Well, so it's basically somebody who goes around saying they were in the military and they weren't.
Okay.
So you see it on, if you look it up online, you go to YouTube, right? Type it in, they'll show like they'll have a guy who hangs out in the bar and he shows up and he's got his old he got a uniform on, or he's got some sort of memorabilia from one of the services, and they'll find out that the guy's been bragging that he was a Navy SEAL or he was an Army Ranger, and then somebody goes up and challenges him, and it turns out the guy is a fraud, and they call it stolen valor. Basically you're claiming you did this thing for your country that you never did. So I had always thought that the Sarge was in the Army back in the day, and he was never.
No.
So I looked it up, and it turns out that in the last bunch of years, the Sarge has been running around and telling people that he was in the Marines, that he was a Marine. So a lot of people let it go because he's always blurred the lines between Sergeant Slaughter and Bob Remus, who plays Sergeant Slaughter. And, some people also think that maybe he's a little nuts. But I was a little surprised by two things. One, he was some sort of inspiration for a G.I. Joe series.
Really?
Yes, a cartoon series, G.I. Joe, or Sergeant Slaughter is actually a Sergeant Slaughter G.I. Joe doll. And he was there's a bunch of animated movies out there. He was part of some of them. But there was a thing where he was challenged a few times by people who he said there are tons of people. Bret Hart said that there's plenty of people that are new in the WWE who think that he was a former Marine, and he wasn't. And I have a problem with that. Like I love the Sarge. I love what he did back in the day, and the Cobra Clutch, and and what he represented. But at some point, you have to step outside the character and say, hey, I was never in there, and I just portray somebody who was in there. And I thought that was an interesting thing that I didn't know about the guy.
Let me ask you something. I mean,
Sure.
I remember him saying that he used to be a Marine as the character Sergeant Slaughter.
Correct. Yes.
Does he go by his real name saying that he was in the Marines?
That I don't know. It just says that
Because if he's staying in character,
right,
saying that he was a Marine, I was a Marine, that's one thing. If he's going out as his real name, Bob, whatever you call him,
Bob Remus, yeah.
Bob Remus, and he says that he was a Marine, then that's totally wrong. But if you're doing it as the character, you're keeping up appearances as the character.
Yeah, that's the animated version and G.I. Joe of Sergeant Slaughter.
And I never thought he was that big.
He was a big guy. I tell you what.
But not cut up and built.
No, he was never that way. If you
He's
watch,
just a huge guy.
Yeah, he was just a big, massive a person. But yeah, he wasn't.
Like huge feet. They look like they were size 22.
He had a weird career because when we were kids, he was kind of a big name. When he fought the Sheik, and then he went away. And then at some point, I think it was WrestleMania 5 or 7, where he actually was the title holder, I believe, and gave the belt back to Hogan. I didn't realize. I forgot that. I didn't realize he had like basically another run where he was actually champion for a while. Do you remember that?
when he, now that you mention it, I remember when he fought Hogan as champion. He won it again after that.
No. I think that was his last run. That was, I think, late 80s and early 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
Because I know that when I first came across him on WWE, he was a bad guy.
Right.
And
Yes.
that's when he started the feud with Hogan.
Yes.
But for years, he was a good guy.
Yes.
And he fought like the likes of Abdullah the Butcher and some of these other fucking guys.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't in the WWF at the time when I started to watch it. And I guess they weren't showing their high-end talent. They were showing the upper mid-card talent, so to speak.
Well, here's the history. So he came he returned to he was in WWF from let's see, hold on a second. 83, 84 was when he came back, and he was Sergeant Slaughter, right? And he was doing his thing. He left from 85 to 90, went to the AWA, and then came back in 1991 as an Iraqi sympathizer. What was his name?
Probably still Sergeant Slaughter.
No, I don't think so. I think they had given him a different name. I want to say, maybe you're right. I think it is. I think it was Slaughter. Yeah. After WrestleMania 6, Otis sent the letter and said he loved the program, was in returning. Anyway, so he was 7, and he was various feuds from 91 to 94. He feuded with Hogan, Jim Duggan, the Nasty Boys, the Mountie. He had a very weird career, and then back again as the WF commissioner and other appearances from 97 to 2009. An interesting guy. I thought it was odd, and I had never heard it as young when we were younger. I always thought, how did he handle pretending to be being a Marine? And he did a lot of stuff with the Army bases. He did a lot of stuff, going. I was just curious if he ever stepped out of character to say, hey, I really did this.
When you're in character, you're in character.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that.
But if you're out of character and you're still saying, I did my service for my country, that's something that but not good. But at the time, the WWE characters, some of them were so over the top, with the way that their stories and everything else. Like, I mean, we could say here all night. Look at like ones like Papa Shango. He was supposed to be a voodoo guy.
Oh yeah.
Red Rooster and some of the other stupidity that they gave us over the years. Now it's like nobody has a name anymore. They're all just regular, Florio, Jeff Talwinski.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're completely different situation now.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at it. Do you know he put out a record album?
Oh my God.
Yeah, hold on a second. It's G.I. Joe series. During the mid-1980s, Sergeant Slaughter released a full-length LP, Sergeant Slaughter and Camouflage Rocks America. It featured a number of original songs, including the Cobra Clutch. All right. Your homework for next week is to find this album and some of it for YouTube next week.
Well, let me see. I'm going to see right now if we can find it. Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, it's called Sergeant Slaughter, and Camouflage Rocks America.
Sergeant Slaughter and
Camouflage Rocks America.
Oh boy, no results. No results on YouTube.
Oh boy! Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't pop up, like there's no pop up to it. He said, including the Cobra Clutch, as well as a cover of Neil Diamond's America. So somewhere out there, we're gonna have to find. I'm gonna have to scour the internet to find this album now, because I have to
scour the internet. Good luck with that one.
I will make this my homework for next week. All right. Interesting. Interesting. What's going on? Anything new with the bands? Anything new to report?
No. Sadly, no.
Has your singer returned from his 2-week binge in Florida?
That will have to speak about off the air. I don't know what's going on with that one.
Really? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
And then there was some other instances today, which I don't know. Things, man, things.
You're gonna have to call me tomorrow. I know you're off tomorrow, so I expect a phone call with a complete rundown of what's going on in the Jeff Dolwinski world.
I'll let you know what happens.
All right, I like that. I need to know what's going on. So no gigs, nothing to report. Is the May? I'll ask you this: is the May 8th gig still happening?
I do not know.
Wow.
I do not know. I would love to give you a more definitive answer, but
you don't have.
I do not know. I'm trying to see if there's a way that I could see, and right now I no, I don't have that. There's not much I can help you with right now.
All right. Have you been to the new club on the island?
What new club?
I believe it's called...
no.
Okay. We're not promoting. Will you be stepping foot in this place?
Maybe somewhere down the line, but not anytime soon.
Interesting. All right. I saw that DJ Alex Kane is appearing there tonight.
Yeah, Tom, I have to step away real quick for a second.
We're going to close it up when you get back anyway. So go ahead. Again, Hard Rocket Sports. That's Jeff and I'm Tom. And we're about to call it a night here on the show. We're glad you all popped up and spent a couple hours with us. Thanks to Frank Catalano, who rode the whole way. I guess Frankie must have popped off and left. I don't blame him. It's getting late. We'll wait to get Jeff gets back. So anyway, I hope you guys have had a good time, and I hope you guys. How was everybody's Easter? I hope everybody had a great Easter. Easter's one of those things that I'm gonna hold my Easter conversation with Jeff till he gets back, because I'm a little disappointed in Easter this year. Big start off by the Yankees, 6-1. Mets 1-5. And a lifeless 1-5. It was a good win today. Let's see if they build on that. If you're the Yankees, you gotta love the way Juan Soto has kicked off his career as a Yankee. Maybe he's 1 year, but has been everything you could have expected out of a ball player. Coming over, big name, big free agent, big expectations. So good for that. It's been a good start to the baseball season. Yankees home opener tomorrow. And we'll talk a little bit more about that next week, and lots to talk about. Well, I want to get Jeff back, talk Easter, and then we'll wrap the show up. Let's see what else. Caitlin Clark. If anybody thinks she's Larry Bird, you're sadly mistaken. Again, I've heard. I think she's probably a very good player, probably a great women's player. But let's leave it at that, please. I still can't get into women's college basketball. I like women's hockey. Women's amateur hockey is pretty cool. I don't know why. I just like hockey. I think some of it's exciting. But the college basketball I haven't gotten into. So we'll see. But we're waiting on Jeff to get back, and then we're going to wrap this up. We'll call it a night. Right now, there's no sports on right now, right? I don't think so. Big news: the Buffalo Bills trading Stephon Diggs. It's a big move to the Texans, who are a very stacked team. It's going to be interesting. See how that plays out. We'll get to a lot more football in the next few weeks with the draft. 2 weeks or 3 weeks away. So we'll get to talk a little bit more about that. Waiting for Jeff to get. It must have been an explosion, so to speak. I wait for Jeff to get on home. Here he comes. We're gonna close up the show when Jeff comes back. You feeling okay there, partner?
Yeah, man. Woo, baby.
You know what? I could see Easter disappearing, Jeff, in the next 20 years.
What's this?
I could see Easter disappearing from the landscape of the world.
Listen.
It just doesn't seem to be.
I didn't do anything.
Again, yeah, I think a lot. For me, my family still get together, but it's definitely not celebrated the way it was when I grew up. I'm sure when you grew up, we had a lot of people. We had a lot of people. I mean, it was 20 people or better at my aunt's house. A lot of food, but it just wasn't the same feeling, and it wasn't the same feeling. But don't worry, we did celebrate Trans Visibility Day. That's right. The White House made it
important.
That's right. They did make sure they promoted Trans Visibility Day.
Yeah,
guys, keep voting for this moron. But anyway, yeah, I was a little disappointed with the Easter field this year. There was no field to Easter at all. So I was a little disappointed in that. But it is what it is. Jeff, yeah, it is a shame. It is a shame. It's it was a great holiday to get everybody together. And the meaning, if you're a Catholic or a Christian, it's the big meaning. I mean, Jesus rises from the dead. Where original sin is wiped out, and we get basically a fresh start. And that whole teaching has now been lost on, I believe, on a generation. Quick question, Jeff. Real quick, give me a quick take. Stefon Diggs traded away.
I can't believe that, man. I think they wow. I don't understand that, man. What happens to Buffalo now?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought process. They've gotten rid of Jordan Poyer. Singletary's gone. Now Diggs wasn't happy last year, so I'm not surprised by the move, but I'm still surprised. I said it on a couple of our chats that I thought Buffalo was starting to do a quiet rebuild. Now, you can't call it a total rebuild because they have their quarterback, but I said it. This team has reached a point where they just can't win with this nucleus, and I think they needed a fresh start with new players because I don't think they could not get over the hump. They could not beat the Chiefs, and I think that now with the Jets and the Dolphins nipping at their heels, there's a good chance that Buffalo next year is the third best team in that division.
Dude, I got a feeling that this year they may be the third best team in their division. I think the Jets and the Dolphins each have surpassed them. That's me.
I would agree with that. I would not disagree with it. And now I will still say, as long as they have Josh Allen, they have a chance. But I think that unless they make some sort of major moves, I know their cap is tough right now. This team may be taking a real back seat and a chance that they may have to take a year or two off to rebuild and then come back strong. But they got a young quarterback who's top 2 or 3 in the league. So they have the biggest piece in-house, Jeff.
Yeah, they do, but he has nobody to throw the ball. And yeah, you're right. I didn't think I didn't agree with you when you first said it, but they certainly seem as though that something else is going on with this team. But I'm just surprised that they did it this late in the off season, so to speak. Yeah. Like now you let the free agency pass you by. What happens now?
Yeah, no, you're right. Either you're going to try to make a blockbuster trade for somebody, or you're starting all over, rebuilding through the draft, and maybe next year. And like I said, I think this year there's right now the opportunity for the Jets and the Dolphins to jump up into the number 1 team in that division is right there for both teams. And I think right now, if you're asking me, I think the Jets are probably the best team, have the best chance because they have a lot more talent right now, and they have a good quarterback. So,
look, they have a quarterback. Let's see what happens. Yeah. See if he lasts more than 4 plays.
Well, that remains to be seen. But on paper, this Jet team has a chance to jump up to the top of that division and maybe hang on to that for a couple of years. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. We'll get more into the draft next week, and we're going to do a first round mock draft next week for you guys. Maybe not the whole thing, but we'll do a mock draft next week, and then of course talk about everything else going on. So, Hefe, you got anything else you want to end the show with?
No, dude, it was a cool show today, man. We touched a couple different things. I like shows like this, man.
Yep, me too. We bounced around. We got some music in. We talked about money. We talked about sports, and we had some fun. So for 2 hours and a couple of minutes, we thank everybody for tuning in. I hope your Easter was great, and I hope your week was good. So again, we do this every Thursday night, Jeff and I, and we're glad to have a whole bunch of our friends stick around and hang out with us. And thanks to Frank Catalano, who hung around for most of it. And Frankie's a good dude. He likes to tweak Jeff, but he's a good dude, Frankie.
He's all right.
He's all right. Anyway, so guys, that's it for tonight. We thank you everybody for tuning in and being part of the show. And we look forward to doing this again next Thursday night. So for Jeff and myself, thanks for tuning in. Have a good rest of your night, a good rest of your week, a great weekend, and a great next week. Hopefully, it stays nice and dry and warm. And come on back when Jeff and I do this all over again. So for Jeff Tomlinski, myself, and everybody at the Hard Rocket Sports Show, I say thank you and good night, and we'll see you next week. Jeff, I'll talk to you off the air. Call me tomorrow.
Later, dude. I will.
Dude.
Bye.
All right.